finally.
Some brother time.
Haven't had a chance to play much Skyrim yet. I got it for Christmas, so I'll go home and slay some dragons after this weekend. Looking forward to it.
All right, looks like we're leading into the match. Luis SCOTT-VARGAS, VIDUGIRIS. We know what LSV is playing. Let's look at...
I think Godinez is playing humans, blue-white humans.
Let's look at Rich Hagon's list here. Blue-white humans. So who do you like in the matchup?
I'd say I'd have to like humans here. I think that, especially when the deck draws an Honor of the Pure, it makes the matchup very lopsided. Grand Abolisher is also very strong here.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience.
So Godinez getting in for 1 with his Doom Traveler, dropping Luis down to 19, and he has the Grand Abolisher for turn 2.
Looks like our competitors have actually started a couple of seconds early before head judge Ricardo Testatori called start of the round. But it doesn't. Time is probably not going to be an issue in this match anyway.
Probably not. Now, Luis there, it was hard to see on camera, but what happened was he gut-shotted the Grand Abolisher and then used Snapcaster Mage to flash back the gut-shot. So he was able to kill the Grand Abolisher and create a small board presence with Snapcaster Mage all in one turn at the cost of 4 life. Godinez has an Honor of the Pure, which is very strong with Doom Traveler. Now, Doom Traveler is a 2-2, and then when it blocks, it makes a 2-2 flyer. All for 1 mana.
Well, we see our first checklist card on camera for Delver. Charles Gindy had chosen to play his Delvers in their regular sleeves. Tempo-wise, this looks already like Godinez has the upper hand. You don't. Certainly, LSV doesn't want to be blocking with his Delvers here.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, there's no way he can block, because even if he blocks, Godinez is going to get the spirits from the Doom Travelers, so he's essentially chumping at that point, and he's going to be wanting to Vapor Snag these Doom Travelers back to Godinez's hand if he's going to want to deal with them effectively. But the Honor of the Pure is going to make Godinez's cards extremely mana effective.
LSV takes a pause to go into the tank for a second before saying, yeah, I'm going to eat that damage.
And Mana Leak counters Godinez's attempt at I think that's the second copy of Honor of the Pure. The Vapor Snag is precisely what Luis needs here, so nice draw step for him. Dropping Godinez down to 17 with a swing from the Insectile Abomination.
I thought it was an aberration.
Is it an aberration?
Oh, we're going to have to look it up now.
I know I'll just call it a Jeff Goldblum. It's still a human when it flips.
No, what's its name? I think it's aberration. Maybe it is an abomination. We'll get our crack staff looking at that to get a
correct pronunciation. Luis's Insectile Aberration or Abomination is in Chinese, so it's hard to tell.
Well, because everybody still just calls it Delver. My Delver's attacking.
Yeah. It's still a human once it flips. It's an insect human. I appreciate that.
And if you haven't noticed, on the front side of the card, he's got the little insect in his hand that it becomes when it flips over.
Insectile
Aberration.
Godinez chooses to attack for 4 with both Doom Travelers, and I suspect that Luis is going to... Luis decides he's got the race math down, and he's only going to go to 7 here. He's going to block a Doom Traveler and get a Spirit Token. Luis also has a Vapor Snag in hand, which then can be used to destroy the Spirit Token. And that's precisely what he's going to do.
players in EDH number 12. Your opponent is ready to go. Please report to the side of that table next to the whiteboard. Let's get EDH number 12.
Now, an Invisible Stalker is going to come in for 1 damage here, and Invisible Stalker is one of those cards that's really strong. It's seen a lot of play early on in the format, and now it's seeing more play again as people are starting to play cards like Spectral Flight and sort of War and Peace.
Not to mention the Pike.
Not to mention Root Chandler's Pike, yes. Luis dropping to 3 here from an attack. Godana's forced to pass back.
Does he actually have an out? He doesn't have. I don't think he's got 15 damage.
It's going to be rough for him at this point. Now, Godana's has a few different choices here. He could choose to tap the insect and just attack with the Doom Traveler, or he could just attack with both. He chooses to attack with just the Doom Traveler and leave the tapper back to control whatever Luis decides to play on his turn. With Luis at 3, all he really has to do is apply a little bit of pressure, and this game should be his. Mana Leak takes care of Geist of Saint Draft. Oh, and Luis just found a Moorland Haunt, which is going to be a great help in getting him back into this game. Luis makes a 1/1, which is going to chump block one of the 2 creatures, and Luis is going to drop down to 1 life here. Godana is slow rolling an Oblivion Ring in hand. It's going to be pretty hard for Luis here.
Two lands in hand for LSV.
Luis is going to be forced to double chump here with a Spirit Token and the Invisible Stalker. Godana's could win right now if he just attacks with the Spirit and then taps Luis's Spirit when Luis creates it with the Moorland Haunt. But that leaves him open to a few different lines of play that Luis could have available to him right now. Decides to go for that, and that's the game.
What would have been the crackback that he feared right there?
Just a Vapor Snag or Snapcaster Mage. A Snapcaster Mage would have actually put Luis in a strong position to win the game there.
All right, so Godana's VIDUGIRIS up 1 game on LSV. I'll get our crack staff on. As a matter of fact, there they are.
Ooh.
They're the deck lists. What's it look like from a sideboarding standpoint?
It looks like Godana's has access to Ratchet Bomb. I believe he's also going to be bringing in Leonin Relic Order, depending on his take on the cards available from Luis's deck. Leonin Relic Order is something that's definitely going to come in when you see a card like Invisible Stalker, because where there's Invisible Stalkers, there are artifacts that are going to
there's something to attach to it, right?
onto it. Now, Timely Reinforcement is another card that can come in, but I don't know how good that is in this type of matchup. I think it may be a card that's, for when you're specifically on the draw. I think so. Yeah, he'll probably bring it in this game, but I don't know if it's going to remain in his deck for game 3 if he loses.
Right.
On the other side of things, we have Luis, and what do you think Luis is going to be bringing in here?
The extra Vapor Snag?
Certainly the extra Vapor Snag. And he has some Timely Reinforcements of his own, which I think should be in his deck in any game possible against the White Weenie decks. Godana's deck has access to more creatures than Luis's deck does. Now, that's what we saw in that last game was just how strong Honor the Pure is in these matches where everybody's playing extremely cheap creatures. You're just getting more value out of your mana, and in a match like this, both players are basically just trying to dump their hands as fast as possible. That people are playing just basically an unsummon. That's how tempo-based the format has become.
So, in this format, if memory lapse were
Legal
instead of mana leak, would you play it?
Yes. Definitely.
You play it in the mana leak spot? All right,
I think it would actually be better in this, though, than mana leak is.
Interesting. As they're shuffling up for Game 2, I'll tell you, this is Shelvin Menery, along with Jacob Van Lunen. The tech team has decided to fix that slight error. I am not, in fact, Rich Agon. We're on GG's Live.
All right, so Luis leads things off with a Ponder. It's a Lorwyn Ponder, the original art.
He's styling. He's also styling with those
Beta Islands.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet.
Well, I got to tell you, I like the Zendikar Full Art lands better.
I'm still a fan of Mirage lands. They look cheap. Now, it's always a disconcerting thing when your opponent keeps the top 3 cards of their library with a Ponder.
Yes. Again, LSV writing down his opponent's hand perfectly within the scope of the rules, especially as long as it's not taking an extended amount of time to do so, slowing down the match. Again, I really don't think time is going to be a significant issue in this match.
Probably not. Both players are playing very aggressive decks, and both players also are people who are known for playing very fast.
We were talking when Conley was here. We were talking about his pace of play. That is the kind of pace of play that you might want to discourage from a less experienced player.
Learning to play fast and well is something that not many people can do.
We have to learn to play. I think the mistake less experienced players have is they try to learn both at the same time. Whereas I think playing well first and then fast is. There's Geist.
And in uncountered Geist of St. Drafts, it's very difficult for the human deck to deal with, especially when it has no board presence. Luis, at this point, can control the board. He can use very inexpensive cards like Vapor Snag to really punish Godinez for keeping this hand with a lot of 3-drops. And he can just continue to develop his board while Godinez spends turns tapping out for single threats. But Godinez has the Geist of St. Draft in hand, and he's able to just legend rule that away.
Still haven't seen that guy made into a great EDH deck yet. There was a lot
surprising.
Of when it got spoiled. When it got spoiled, everybody's like, "Oh, I'm building the Geist deck." I haven't really seen one yet. There's LSV playing Checklist card, which is obviously the Delver.
Delver and a sword. There may be an issue with the flip cards and the Channel Fireball sleeves.
Yeah.
I know that is an issue with the Star City sleeves.
Yes.
You have to use checklist cards.
Indeed. As a matter of fact, I was watching the coverage last week, and somebody had one of the Channel Fireball sleeves, and I was like, furiously texting BDM, because he happened to be standing behind the match instead of being over here in the booth. I was like, "Can you see through those cards?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Why don't you run get a judge?"
And you can't see through them in normal lighting.
Right.
There are very specific situations where you can, but the fact that you can at all means no dice.
It means no dice. All right, Godinez spending a little time to think a little bit. Bye sword, and another Honor of the Pure, or his first Honor of the Pure this game.
And that's a very strong play. He's able to 2-for-1 Luis to effect with the Lane and Relic Order, and play the Honor of the Pure, which is a very strong combo with the Moorland Taunt that he has in play. Now all he has to do is tap 3 lands, and he puts a creature in play that can trade with that Insectile Aberration.
Standard Windbox number 8 is now starting.
Interesting that he's choosing to put his lands forward instead of his other permanents. Whereas most players like to put their lands close to them.
Easier access.
He's stretching them out.
Where he's from, they start with the knife and fork on different sides.
Right.
It's, I let him drive my car, and we were coming home from Pittsburgh, and we often joked with him, telling him which side of the road to drive on over and over again. Ooh, and an end-step Vapor Snag is a very strong play from Luis, because that's going to give him the sword back on Godinez' end step, giving him access, or on immediately, thus allowing him to equip the sword and get in and get a sword trigger right away. Huge life swings there.
Huge life swing.
And right here, we're seeing just how strong the blue Delver decks are on the play. And that's really one of the most appealing things about that deck, is that when you win a die roll, you just have a huge match win percentage against just about everything.
Attention players, with Michael Woodbury, please come into the side events table. Your standard word box is now starting. Michael Woodbury, this is last call. Standard word box number.
Leonin Relic Order comes back down and takes the sword back away from Luis.
Although it's done a significant amount of damage now. Getting in the red zone again.
Godinez only has one more turn now.
And there's got to be mana leak. There's really got to be a mana leak there someplace for Luis.
And what Godinez is probably going to plan to do is simply attack and then pass the turn with mana open for his Moorland Taunt. And then the Moorland Taunt taken will attempt to trade with the Insectile Aberration. And that's an uncounterable way to deal with the 3-2 flyer. However, if Luis has Snapcaster or Vapor Snag, it's over. Godinez goes for an Oblivion Ring, though. I believe that's what that is. It resolves.
There's the Snapcaster.
And that's going to be it. Yeah.
Okay, going to game 3. Any difference in either sideboard plan being on the play V draw?
I don't think Godinez can really afford to play timely reinforcements if he's on the play. He really wants to curve out against Luis's deck, and his plan is to out-tempo this tempo deck, and he's playing a white weenie deck, so he can do that. But I think Luis is probably going to keep the same 75 into game 3.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's going for his box.
I'd actually be interested in seeing what if Godinez had chosen to have the timely reinforcements in versus the play in the draw. Godinez's deck actually has the ability to get much more controlling post-board in mirror matches. Access to cards like Ratchet Bomb, Timely Reinforcements, and some extra counter spells. He can really just turn into this mid-rangey blue-white deck if he wants to. Now, in a match like this, what do you think the ideal opener is for Godinez here? Do you think he wants a Champion of the Parish, or do you think that Doom Traveler is just better here?
Well, like you said, I think he's got to he's got to out tempo the tempo deck.
Yeah.
So he's got to start getting into the red zone.
I think Chamonix the Parish is exceptionally strong because it's going to force Luis to use the Vapor Snag really early.
Right.
And then he's not going to be able to have that, mid-game blowout play where he is able to Vapor Snag a Lean and Relic Warder and swing with a sword or something of that sort.
Right.
Now, if you look at these sideboards, we'll notice that Luis, even though he's access to Lean and Relic Warder, he's playing Divine Offering. And his deck does not have as much white mana, which is one of the major reasons for that. But also, it's important to note just how important it is to actually kill something and not just Faceless Butcher it.
Right.
Because Faceless Butcher and Necrotal are very different effects.
They are very different effects. It's like we have keeps.
And now Godinez draws another 1-drop, so if he started his hand with 2 of them in his hand, he can double 1-drop this turn. He does not have access to that, so he continues to apply pressure and adds a Doom Traveler to the table. Luis plays another land and passes the turn. Probably leaving a Mana Leak at this point, but not sure if Godinez can afford to play around that. He's probably going to go for the Honor of the Pure.
It seems like you just try to ram it down his throat. Again, with no board sweepers of any kind. More guys or more damage seems like it's the right call.
Now, I like Godinez's play there. He chooses to play a Mirror Crusader instead of choosing to play the Honor the Pure. Now that Luis is tapped out, he gets a chance to resolve his super important enchantment.
Yep, he has it right there.
It looks like he also has a 1-drop to go along with it. And that's a lot of board presence for one turn. Now Luis, however, has 1 card that attacks for a lot of damage. Geist of St. Traps is just such a powerful play. It's proven itself to be strong even when your opponent has a board presence.
There it is, as advertised. Luis not going to block that.
Now Luis is going to have an answer for this Elite Vanguard if he's going to want to get in with this Geist. Does he have the Vapor Snag?
He's not being good enough to show us most of his hand.
No, but he does have a Timely Reinforcements. And that's going to put a big speed bump in the way for Godinez.
Going to block with himself, obviously.
I appreciate the Mayan Ruin in the background of Luis' token card. Luis does have the Vapor Snag to go along with those Timely Reinforcements. Gets in for 6, and Godinez is dropped down to 13.
It seemed like a pretty swingy turn.
Yeah. They almost traded life totals. Now, what Luis really wants here is some number of Snapcaster Mages or Vapor Snags in hand. That's going to make this game really tough for Godinez.
Attention players, line up for the Constructed Legacy.
Yeah, and this is one of the things we saw a lot at the starts of the Invitational Top 8 and a lot at Worlds, is that when these Blue Delver decks are able to draw multiple copies of Vapor Snag and or Snapcaster Mage, they're able to just put their opponent completely out of the game. Suddenly cards that are 3-drops seem like they're 6-drops.
Right.
So until you have the mana to cast them twice, it's not good enough. The Vapor Snag is going to...
So after taking game 1, Godinez VIDUGIRIS is on the ropes in game 3.
Yeah, despite a very strong start, too.
And despite his very strong start. The sort of perfect storm for LSV. And he looks like he's in pretty good shape. A couple guys coming down. Can take care of the tokens. There you see the power, however, he drops 2 guys. Honor of the Pure.
Yeah. Suddenly all those tokens are just held back.
Is worth 2 mana.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that all of those really cheap cards are just worth so much mana. And Luis is able to take it down. The 2 Invisible Stalkers and a Geist of St. Traps is just going to give him too much evasive damage for Gardanus to deal with a board that doesn't fly.
Right.
And obviously can't block an unblockable guy.
You can't block because he's unblockable.
He's unblockable.
Okay, LSV takes it down 2-1 versus the Gardanus VIDUGIRIS.